Come on in. Welcome into this week's edition of the Alabama Racer, presented by Green Oil Company, your local VP Racing Fuels and Additives distributor for the better part of the state of Alabama. I'm your host, Jim Jacobs, and for the next 30-plus minutes, it is my sincere privilege to bring you up to speed on everything that's happening in the world of motorsports around the state of Alabama. We'll start out this week by sticking our toes into drag racing for the first time this season. Got a couple of guys, a father and son duo from right here in the central part of the state that bracket race just about every weekend during the season. They'll join me here and we'll go drag racing 101. We'll learn everything you need to know about how to enjoy the sport of drag racing. It'll be quite interesting if you'll come along. It was a busy past weekend in Alabama at tracks all over the place. We'll tell you who won most places. Plus, we'll look ahead to what's happening this Friday and Saturday. Some more great racing action coming up. It's all on the racing calendar that's straight ahead. And we'll wrap the show up with a quick telephone visit with Billy Thomas, the promoter down at East Alabama Motor Speedway in Phoenix City. They've got a big race this weekend that honors the memory of Billy's dad, Jimmy Thomas, who of course is a racing patriarch from the state of Alabama. All of that's coming up, but right now we see that the caution lights are out on the safety car, so we'll duck in real quick for one quick splash of gas to make sure we can make the distance. But don't go anywhere. The Alabama Racer is headed to the front when the green flag waves next.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
Anniston Storage is one of the area's finest household and commercial storage facilities. Fenced, well lit with security cameras, this multi-unit facility can meet all of your short or long-term storage needs. Anniston Storage is safely accessible 24 hours with an electric gate and keypad entry, each unit securely locked to protect your valuables. Sizes available are 10 by 10 up to 10 by 40 feet. We also offer outside storage for boats, campers, trailers, or motorhomes. Find everything you need at our website, AnnistonStorage.com. You can even reserve your unit and pay your bill. Anniston Storage, 3100 Red Morris Parkway in Anniston.
Spring is finally here. If you're looking for a new car, truck, or SUV,
or just want something more dependable that's affordable to drive,
then come see us at Avery Auto Sales of Anniston, 410 South Quintard Avenue, home of certified cars, trucks, and SUVs.
Don't pay high new car prices. Come see us at Avery Auto Sales in Oxford on Highway 78.
we even can offer an additional 100,000-mile certified warranty.
And yes, we can get you financed even if you have poor credit.
Spring into Avery Auto Sales on Highway 78 in Oxford and our new location on Quintard in Anniston. Welcome back to the Alabama Racer. You know, we promised you last week that this week we were going to get all into drag racing, and we brought in some folks that could help us learn a little bit, and I'm pleased to welcome in Mark Ward, right?
That's right.
Mark is, during the daytime, a police officer, and on the weekends, a 25-year veteran bracket drag racer. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, the folks that know you where you put them in jail, that's over in Steele, right?
That's correct.
You try not to put too many in jail, though, I'm sure.
Try not to.
Try not to. All right, let's talk about drag racing. I need an education. I am an avid oval track racer, but what I know about drag racing, it probably stops at the end of Ashley Force. So educate me about drag racing, especially bracket racing, because that's mostly what happens on a local level, right?
That's correct. Bracket racing is, you're mainly running your time. You don't want to go faster than your time. You want to have the better reaction time. And usually if you have the better reaction time and your car runs the numbers, as we call it, you're going to win around here and there.
All right, now let's do some definitions for folks like myself that don't know what bracket racing and some of these definitions are of what we're talking about. First off, your time is established. That's kind of the equivalent of qualifying at an oval race. You go out and you qualify for your starting position, but in the sense of bracket racing, you guys are setting the time that you're going to run that 8th mile.
Right, that's correct.
And you get how many chances to do that on a weekend?
We get 3 qualifying passes.
And then your time, or your, well, what do you call it again?
Our ET.
Your ET or your bracket it's your time that you've got to run within.
Right.
That's set out of those. Is it an average of those three, or is it your best one, or how does that work?
Normally, you just take your best one and you dial your car off of it.
That's what I meant, the dial-in time. Okay, so what happens next is you could be racing against a guy who has a 1.5 second difference from you in their dialed in time. How does that work when you guys pull up to the tree?
If they're the slower car, they're going to leave first. And then the other car will be chasing that car down. They want to try to, say if you have a car dialed 7 seconds in the left lane, 6 seconds in the right lane, the car in the left lane is going to get a second head start. So you get to chase it down.
Now, your goal is to beat that car to the end of the line to get the win light, right?
Without quicker than your dialed in time on your car.
And if you beat your dialed in time, you're DQ'd,
you're
right?
DQ'd, you're out.
And does that guy get to advance, or does it matter what
Yes,
he did?
he will advance.
Okay, so you are in bracket racing more or less. You're just racing on different time platforms based on, I guess, your equipment and how good you are getting down the track.
Yes.
Wow. Now, do guys sandbag?
Yes.
Okay. What's the advantage and the disadvantage of sandbagging?
To me, sandbagging, you're not letting your car have its potential to run what it wants to run. A lot of people do that and try to make you, if you're the faster car or you could be the slower car, they're trying to make you break out, get there too quick.
Which DQs you.
Right.
Okay. So it seems to me that if you're going to sandbag, you'd have to be awfully good at knowing what your car runs and not.
Oh yes, you definitely have to know your car.
Yeah, that's amazing. Does that happen much, or do most guys just run straight up?
Probably half and half.
Half and half?
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. Gosh, how do you know when a guy's sandbagging?
If you know that person and you run with them, race with them every week, yeah, I mean, you're gonna know.
Wow. Man, that's amazing. So talk a little bit about the difference between guys that do what you and your son do versus other guys that race for Green Oil VP, like Tim Rozelle, who goes out and races at the Talladega Short Track and the Super Late models every weekend. Is there, other than the equipment, is there any difference in the mentality?
There's no difference. I'm sure every time he leaves to go to the track, he's going to win the race. And that's the same with us. When we leave to go to a track to go race, we're going to win. We might not win, but we're there to win.
So what's a good weekend at the track? Because I mean, is a good weekend getting deep into the bracket, or is it just winning, or what defines a good weekend for you guys?
A good weekend if we get down to 8 cars. A great weekend is to go and win.
You win much?
$1,000 to win.
But do you do it much?
Not much.
Not much?
Not much.
But you keep at it.
Keep at it.
You know, one of the things you guys were telling me before we started today was about the maintenance of the car, because we were talking about, you know, the difference between what you guys do and get home every week versus the guys who run oval track. I mean, dirt and asphalt. There's a lot of cleanup stuff involved in racing, oval track racing, but you were telling me you guys get to the house and just lock the trailer and go in and go to bed.
Lock the trailer and go in and go to bed and get it out next Saturday when we go to the track.
And you were telling me that you basically have to pull it out of the trailer every 3 or 4 weeks to do some maintenance on it?
Change the oil, check the valves, just check everything, make sure all the bolts and nuts are tight.
Now, what breaks the most on these cars? It seems to me that the drivetrain aspect of the cars would take the most wear and tear?
I would say transmissions and rear ends break the most in a drag racing car.
So you guys don't tear up a lot of motors?
Nope.
Now, one of the things that I think is really interesting, folks, about this, that I think you're going to find interesting as well, there are two classes that you guys can compete in the breakout stuff. One is basically street stuff, and the other is pro, and you guys run pro. Tell me what the difference is between the two.
The pro cars have electronics. You have a trans brake in the transmission, and you have a computer that counts down to when you actually lay the starting line, is basically what it is. In the street cars, you don't have none of that. You just have your foot brake and your gas pedal.
So, in other words, on a street car, like let's say if I wanted to take my F-150 outside and go compete next weekend, I'd do it all with the throttle and the brake pedal.
That's where you do it all at.
Wow. And now, but tell me the difference between that and doing it in the pro car, because there's a big difference. You got that little button thing.
The way we have a trans brake in our transmission, most people have their buttons on their steering wheel. When you stage your vehicle up at the lights, when you cut the second light on, you mash that button, and it automatically takes the transmission and puts it in a neutral position, and that way you can floor the accelerator all the way to the floor, bring it up on the what we call the RPM chip, usually about 4,400 RPMs.
You're running a rev limiter then?
Yes.
Okay.
About 4,400 RPMs, and then when the green light comes on, you let go of the button and hang on.
Now, a good run is 6 seconds.
That's what our S10 truck runs. It runs like 604, 605.
Now, your son drives it, right?
Yes.
But you drive the little Chevelle.
I drive a Chevelle.
What's it run?
690s.
So he's about a second quicker than Daddy.
Yes.
Now, is that just because of what's in the truck versus what's in the car?
Yes.
Equipped motor-wise?
Motor-wise. In our little truck, we're making about 715 horsepower.
And what's the Chevelle do?
The Chevelle is making about 500.
Wow, that's a big difference. You guys ever race one another?
We haven't yet. We try to stay away from each other.
Now, tell me some of the places where you guys go. I know you've kind of got a home track.
Home track would be Holiday Raceway down in Bibb County.
That's in Woodstock.
Baileyton up in Holly Pond, which is in Coleman County. Sand Mountain Dragway, which is up above Fort Payne, up in Section, Alabama, up above Rainsville. You have a track, Montgomery, you have a track in Huntsville. Mainly Holiday Beach is where we race at. Just good Saturday night racing.
You go every Saturday?
We try to.
I got you. So what's your season?
We usually start about the middle of March and usually go to October.
Now, tell me a little bit about the tires on your cars. I mean, they're different than what the guys run on the short tracks or that kind of thing. I mean, you guys have got racing slicks, yes. I guess.
We have racing slicks.
What about the front wheels? What are they like?
The front wheels have just a little tread. They do that. They design them like that so the friction is not there, so the tire will roll more freely. Slicks, we run Hoosiers on our little truck. On the Chevelle, we run Goodyears on it. Mickey Thompson makes a good race tire also.
Now, I know on a short track, especially on asphalt short track, you can go through a couple sets of tires a night pretty easy. You guys were telling me before we started today, you can go just a bunch of runs on a set of tires. 250
passes.
Now, do you do burnouts?
Yes.
To get heat in them?
Yes, to put heat in them. Basically what you're doing is you're cleaning the tire.
Right.
You're just cleaning it up.
Now, is that water that we see you guys running through to smoke them, or is there any chemicals in it?
No, that's just plain water.
Just plain water. So really all you're trying to do is get the tires good and clean.
Just get the tires good and clean.
And doing that to them doesn't tear them up?
No, that's what they're made for.
Wow. So are they pretty hard? I mean, is the compound pretty hard?
You can have a hard compound tire or a soft compound tire. We run a middle compound.
So it's pretty good mostly, I guess, wherever we
go race.
Tell me about reading the track. What's that like? I mean, I know with oval track stuff, especially dirt racing, I mean, you see these guys cutting tires and everything else based on what the racetrack's like. What's involved in reading a drag strip?
We actually read the track by what our 60-foot times are. Drag racers just don't have that problem of, cutting down tires like it is, with the round track racers. The hotter it is, the track's a little bit more trickier to, navigate down, maybe a little slick. As the sun, goes down and it starts to cool off, then the tracks really come around and they will hook then.
Now I gotta ask, because it looks simple, but how hard is it to drive?
It is hard.
Well, I mean, I know it's gotta be more difficult than it looks, but what's it like?
You have to be ready. You don't know if you may go left, you may go right, you may go straight up in the air. You have to hold on.
I know straight up in the air is not good.
You just have to be ready for anything.
Wow.
Anything can happen.
You guys got a place one Saturday night for a guy that's never been?
Sure do.
Man, I tell you, you can put a wrench and a rag in my hand anytime. I'm at home. Thank you so much for coming in, Mark. I appreciate it. Good to see you. Glad to meet you. Thanks a lot for joining us on the Alabama Racer. When we come back, Mark's son Tyler is going to join us, and we'll talk some about that pretty little Chevrolet pickup truck that he motors down the drag strip in about 6 seconds. We'll get to that when the Alabama Racer continues next.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
Need a place to keep your tools?
Or a place to get away from the wife. Whatever your needs are, we got a barn or a carport for you.
With rent-to-own options and no credit checks, we can help you take home the right barn or carport today.
And with 4 different locations, we're just a short drive away.
So come see us in Glencoe, Moody, Asheville, or Attala, and let our family help your family get the barn or carport you deserve.
The tire, arguably the most important part of a car. Without it, we could not stop, we could not go, we couldn't drive at all. They come in all sizes, brands, treads, prices, and ratings. How do you know which is the right tire for you? Thankfully, there's Cobb Automotive, and they have been answering this question since 1981. With a large selection of brands and sizes in stock, you are sure to get the right tire for the right price. Cobb Automotive, located on Highway 21 across from Walmart in Oxford, and 2001 Quintard Avenue in Anniston.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Alabama Racer, presented by Green Oil, your local VP Racing Fuels and Additives distributor. I'm your host, Jim Jacobs, and it doesn't matter what kind of racing you're doing. Racing is a generational thing. Families pass it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're Petty's or Earnhardt's or whatever. There are families everywhere that fathers and sons of sons move on and drive race cars. And that's exactly what we've got here in this week's drag racing special. We've got Tyler Ward here, who is Mark's son, and he drives one of their pro drag racing trucks that they have that they compete with each and every week. Tyler, welcome to the Alabama Racer. Good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about your truck a little bit. Tell me about that Chevy.
93 S10, full tube chassis truck. It's got a 434 small block Chevrolet in it. That's about it.
That's about it. Look, there's a lot more to it than that. We all know that. First, body, stock, composite, what is it?
It's just the stock body. The cab's all the same. Of course, it's been gutted, but and the bed's been shortened up on it, but everything else is pretty much the factory, how it came.
Now, let's talk a little bit about doing what you guys do every Saturday. a pass for you is what, 6 to 7 seconds?
6 seconds.
6 seconds from green light to
Finish line.
6 seconds. Man, that's got to be a lot of just adrenaline in a short period of time.
That's awesome.
What's the best part of it? I mean, can you dissect it into segments? I mean, is it leaving? Is it just getting, the thrill of getting from 0 to whatever you're running, or is it getting to that finish line and looking over and seeing that you beat somebody?
Seeing that win light come on is probably the best part of it.
Yeah. Now, how do you know when that's happened? I mean, can you look back in a mirror or something? Or?
There's actually a light at the end of the track that's out ahead of you, and
okay.
it will actually come on, and you see it light up.
So that way you know you won.
That's right.
You guys bracket race, which to me is kind of interesting in that I don't see how you sit there and let some guy leave a second before you do, but that I understand what's going on there, but is that difficult as a driver? I mean, do you pay that any attention, or are you so focused on what you're doing that you don't even really pay that guy any attention?
Nah, you usually just focus on what you're doing most of the time. If you're running if the car that you're going to be running is faster than you, then you kind of think about it a little bit, and you have to watch at the finish line.
But if he's faster than you, you're going to leave first, right?
Right. Yeah, but you still have to judge the finish line when you get down there.
Now, it's all about beating the light, right? The tree.
Yeah, if you have a good light, then there's a good chance that if your car does what it's supposed to do, you're going to get the win light.
Gosh, I mean, it just seems like there's so many variables in it for you guys as to who you're racing and what they clocked in at versus what you clocked in at, and whether or not they sandbagged or not. Do you race against the same guys every weekend? I mean, is it pretty much the same, 20, 30 cars?
Yeah, most of the people that we race against are there every single weekend. There's always 5 or 6 cars that are usually different, but just depends on how big of a race it is.
Now, when I go to a short track and I watch an oval race, when I get there and I see who's there, I pretty much know who the favorite is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same way when you pull into the drag strip every week? I mean, is it pretty much 1 or 2 guys that's who you got to beat, or because you're bracket racing, is that the great equalizer?
There's always a couple of guys that that are good, and they're pretty much in contention to win every single weekend, but everybody's really on an equal playing field.
Tyler, is it because they have better equipment, or is it because they're just better drivers and have more experience? What would you equate that advantage to? I mean, at an oval track, it's usually equipment and driver experience. What is it at the drag strip?
It's just a combination of all those things. Equipment, just being good on the tree, and experience.
So, folks, there you go. Racing's racing. It doesn't matter if it's a wagon, a bicycle, or a pro drag car. Now, your dad runs the little Chevelle you guys take to the track, and he told me earlier that his car's about a 7-second car, and you're about a 6-second car, and he said you guys have never raced.
No, luckily. We try to stay away from each other because one of us would be put on the trailer.
But wouldn't you like to do it just once? Come on.
I'd love to do it every weekend in the finals, but
yeah, in the finals. Well, that makes sense because then you got first and second place money.
That's right.
All right, talk about some of the tracks around the state and places you've been, places you'd like to go. Tell the fans out there who are watching, if they want to go see some great drag racing, where should they go?
Holiday Beach, which is where we usually go every Saturday. That's where we prefer to go. We go to Sand Mountain Dragway, Baileyton Drag Strip. I mean, you have Huntsville and Montgomery are your bigger tracks. They have some bigger money races.
Now tell me about the big race down in Montgomery that we were talking about earlier before we started the show.
They have it's called the $1 million bracket race. They have it every single year.
So they pay $1 million to win?
Well, if you have a certain amount of cars, they will pay up to $1 million. It's a $2,000 entry fee for the Saturday race, which I think last year they had about 400-something entries, and it paid a little over $600,000 to win.
Wow.
Last year.
That's some serious coin.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
But you got to pay $2 grand to enter.
Right.
Okay.
And everybody that enters, you know they're going to be on top of their game.
I would imagine that kind of race draws in folks from all over the country.
All over California, Canada. I think they had some from Mexico last year. Every state you can think about, just about.
How popular is drag racing in Alabama? Or is that a fair question for you, because that's probably all you know is drag racing in Alabama? But gauge the sport's popularity for me.
It's probably not as popular as round track racing in Alabama, but it's just people that's been doing it for 40 or 50 years, really. Just kids of people that's been doing it for a long time.
Have you ever had the desire to jump into a oval track car?
I have not. I wouldn't mind trying it, but I have not ever.
But it's not something that you're passionate about.
No,
but you're passionate about the drag thing.
Oh yeah, I think about it every day, all day.
Now, speaking of every day, all day, your dad is in law enforcement. What do you do every day to make a living?
Civil engineering, build and inspect bridges.
So from what I understand, with a second child on the way and the wife got the oven already hot, you better be pretty good at it.
Yeah, I better be pretty good.
The video, by the way, that you saw earlier that we showed that had Tyler roaring down the track in that Chevy pickup was shot by his wife. I can't believe you drug a 9-month pregnant wife out to the drag strip. Man, what's wrong with you?
She wasn't too excited about it. But
I know what you told her. It's for the sponsors, baby.
That's right.
There you go. All right, well, listen, man. I'm going with you and your dad one weekend. Already got it set up. Hope it's all right with you.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go shoot some video and have some fun. You guys are going to teach me some more about drag racing.
We'd love to have you.
Great. Thanks. Tyler Ward joining us here. He drives the Chevy S10 Pro Bracket Chevrolet pickup truck, sponsored by Green Oil Company, your VP Racing Fuels and Additives distributor. We've got to duck in for a quick gas and go. When we come back, we'll get to the racing calendar. We'll talk about who won races at tracks from around the state over this past weekend and tell you what's coming up this weekend at tracks around Alabama. That is straight ahead. Don't you go anywhere. We are right back.
Daffron Auto Salvage in Pell City is where you'll find over 30 acres of automotive salvage, plus a warehouse full of quality parts for almost any need. Just call ahead and tell us what you're looking for. At Daffron Auto Salvage, you'll find it all. Engine parts, transmissions, rear ends, radiators, suspension, body parts, auto glass, even tires and wheels. You'll also get fast, friendly service. It's been that way since 1965. Don't pay too much for parts. Think used first. Daffron Auto Salvage, 793 Old Cold City Road in Pell City.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Glad you could check in with us again this week. Well, the racing calendar is jam-packed with action from this past Friday and Saturday nights from tracks around the state. Let's get right to this week's edition of the Racing Calendar. Heading into a weekend with a good forecast on tap, it looks like Penton Raceway might finally win out over rainouts this Friday night to kick off their 2016 season, and they'll do it with a bang with the Chevrolet Performance Super Late Model Series in town for a $2,000 to win 30-lap feature, plus limited sportsmen, hobby stocks, and bandits in action. Gates open at 5 o'clock with grandstand admission just $10 for adults. Kids 12 and under are admitted free. They got in 2 big nights of racing at Talladega Short Track this past weekend, and they'll do it again this Friday and Saturday. It's the go-karts on the mini dirt oval Friday night at Talladega Raceway Park with all kart, junior, and mini late models in action. Grandstand admission is free. Congrats to last week's Raceway Park winners, Brody Clay in mini late model. Hunter Walton in Junior Box Champ, Riley Davidson in Green Plate class, Bobby Hansen in Flathead Medium, and Roy Miller in Modifieds. Talladega Short Track features another regular show in all classes this Saturday. The gates open at 5 o'clock with racing at 8. Admission is just $10 with kids 9 and under admitted free. Congratulations to last Saturday night's winners at the Hornet's Nest. Tim Rozelle in Super Late Model. Cruz Skinner came from 3rd to 1st in Crate Late Model. Bubba Lackey wins in Sportsman. It was Justin Angle in Thunder Car. Steve Pate takes the checkers again in Street Stock. And Garrett Lloyd was the winner in the Hot Shot Shootout feature event. If you're looking for some asphalt oval action in West Alabama, head to Saturrday Speedway over in Dora. You'll see late model, sportsman, street, mini modifieds, buzz, renegade, and modified light classes in action. Some winners from last week at Saturrday included Philip Walters in renegade, Matt Martin in limited modified, and Adam Gunner in mini modified. For you drag racing fans, they're running this Saturday at Woodstock at Holiday Beach. The gates open at noon with qualifying underway at 2 p.m. Racing includes pro bracket, foot brake, and junior dragsters. Grandstand admission is just $10 with kids 12 and under admitted free. Fort Payne Motor Speedway got their season underway with plenty of thrilling high bank dirt action this past Saturday. Winners from the weekend included Robert Gant in Super Late Model, Casey Hall in Crate Late Model, Daniel Johnson in Sportsman, Tim Curvin in A Hobby, Cody Medlock in B Hobby, Jimmy Plumley in Pony, and Bronson Privet in four-wheel drive. Racing continues this Saturday at Fort Payne with a full slate of action in all classes. Grandstand admission is just $10 with kids 12 and under admitted free. East Alabama Motor Speedway returns to Saturday night action this week after a special Friday night show honoring moms last weekend. It's the Jimmy Thomas Memorial this week with a full slate of championship action for all the local divisions, plus the Chevrolet Performance Super Late Model Series and a 50-lap feature with $3,000 on the line. Grandstands open at 6 with racing at 7:30. Admission is $12 for adults. Kids 12 and under are admitted free. Congratulations to last Friday's winners at EAMS. Tyler Crowder in Late Model, Kevin Bennett in Limited Late Model, John Michael Schmier in Hobby, Richie Rocketman Stevens in Street Stock, Billy Duell Jr. gets his 4th win in a row in Road Warriors, and Bruce Adams was the winner in Hot Shots. Huntsville Speedway celebrated Mother's Day with some thunder by the river with twin 50-lap features in both the open wheel modified and limited late model divisions this past Saturday. Winners from the evening included Alan Callaway in limited late model, John Thomas in open wheel modified, Tommy Robinette in mini modified, and in her first race ever, Sierra Thornton gets the win in the Buzz class. It was Caleb Thornberry in Super Stock, and Matthew Tucker took the win in Hot Shots. Racing continues at Huntsville Speedway this Saturday night with the front gates opening at 5 o'clock, qualifying underway at 6, and the first green flag of the evening is in the air at 7. Admission is $10 for adults, $5 children ages 7 to 11, with kids 6 and under admitted free. And finally this week, it's dirt racing oval action at Shelby County Speedway in Wilsonville. Gates open at 5 o'clock Saturday with the hot laps getting underway at 6:30. Last Saturday, the track paid tribute to Rat Rivas and honored his family with a special plaque. Shelby County winners included Jonathan Merritt in Buzz, Sam Martin in Hog, Lake Green in Super Pony, and Sandy Dawson in the Street Stocks. Now you're up to speed on all the winners from this past weekend and what's happening this Friday and Saturday night at your favorite local track. Didn't see your track on the show? It's not on us. It's free to any track around the state. All you have to do, right here on the screen, email us your photos, your videos, your race recaps and reports to the Alabama Racer at fnnnetwork.com. Make sure you get that to us by noon every Tuesday, and you'll be on each week's show starting Thursday night at 8 p.m. right here on fnnnetwork.com and the FNN Network app. Hey, we got to duck in for a quick gas and go. Caution lights are out. When we come back, Billy Thomas checks in from down at East Alabama Motor Speedway. That is straight ahead when the Alabama Racer continues.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.
We build things that work the way you wish they would. Like a front-end loader you can detach from your seat. Or a mower deck you just drive over and cut through knee-deep grass no problem. Yep, we thought the same thing you did. That's why we build them this way. That's how we run. Nothing runs like a deer.
We have a 95% customer satisfaction rating.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, are facing an audit, a lien, or levy, then call me right away. You're in charge with the Tax Admiral. Call me now for your free emergency consultation.
Call 800-218-4908. That's 800-218-4908.
Hey, thanks for staying with us this week on the Alabama Racer, presented by Green Oil Company, your local VP Racing Fuels and Additives distributor. I'm your host, Jim Jacobs, and I'm pleased to be joined now by phone from his office down in Phoenix City, Alabama, Billy Thomas, who is the promoter at East Alabama Motor Speedway. Billy, always good to catch up. Of course, you and your guys have a lot of big races on top of your weekly racing shows down at East Alabama, including your Alabama State Championships in October, the Bama Bash in April, the National 100 normally in November. But I can only imagine that this weekend's Jimmy Thomas Memorial means a lot to you and your family because it honors your father.
Yes, it is. We want to honor him and of his racing accomplishments over the years and remember him by having this special event.
Well, Billy, I know the Chevrolet Super Late Model Series is on tap for a big $3,000 to win 50-lapper, but what else is on the card for this Saturday night's Jimmy Thomas Memorial?
Well, we're also having championship racing in all of our other classes that race with us weekly, so it's going to be a huge night with a lot of race cars and a great show, and the Chevrolet Performance Super Late Model program has really done well.
For people that don't know, Billy, your dad was a true racing pioneer in this state. Can you tell folks a little bit about Jimmy Thomas?
Yes, he was in dirt racing in the early days and hooked up with Sam McQuigg, and they won like 35 out of 37 races, features, one season out of Austin 75 Speedway, which was a NASCAR track back in '64, and then '65 they went NASCAR racing. And he won Rookie of the Year with Sam McQuigg there in '65 in NASCAR, and then he hooked up with Leroy Yarborough in '66, and they won the National 500 at Charlotte, and sat on a lot of poles and really accomplished a lot for an independent team, just working out of the back of a furniture store over in Columbus, Georgia, right across the river from us. Then he kind of took off from NASCAR, and he built some race cars and raced a little bit, and then always wanted to build him a dirt track. He wanted to build the most perfect dirt track that had ever been built with all the best features of every track he'd ever been to. And so for years and years, he looked for the property that just was perfect for for a speedway, with a natural hillside for the grandstands and sitting a certain way where the sun wasn't in the spectators' eyes, and he just found that piece of property here right off Highway 80 here in Phoenix City, and then proceeded to build the speedway. And Bobby Allison did the groundbreaking back in 1970, and then the track opened up in 1973, and it has really grown over the years, where the state championship and the National 100, we will have over 600 race teams for those two events, and the Bama Bash, and then a host of other events. But unfortunately, he left us back in 1980. He died real young, and he didn't get to see all these great accomplishments. But he did build one great racetrack for us.
And I know he'd be very proud of what you and your family have been able to do to continue to build upon his dream there at East Alabama Motor Speedway. But your dad, he was quite a pioneer in his own right.
Yeah, there has, and he was a real innovator. He started the first dirt track racing newspaper, Southern Auto Racing News, back in the 70s, and he was the first dirt track to require driver suits for the drivers, and so he was a real innovator. He came up with a lot of things that were ahead of the time.
Well, it won't be long before we'll be talking about this year's National 100. I think it's the 41st running of this prestigious race. For dirt track racers who race in the upper dirt track series across the country every year, winning the National 100 is like winning the Southern 500 on the NASCAR tier. Sure, there are bigger races, but there's none that mean more to the guys who really do this than the National 100.
Yeah, it's very prestigious event. The state championship or the National 100 in all the classes is very prestigious. As people that makes their whole season if they're able to pick up a win at one of those events.
Billy, thanks for giving some of your time to this week's edition of the Alabama Racer, and the best of luck on this Saturday night's running of the Jimmy Thomas Memorial.
Okay, Jim, thank you very much.
Well, the checkered flag is in the air, and the Alabama Racer is headed to the pay window. Thanks so much for our guests for joining us this week, Mark and Tyler Ward, local bracket drag racers from here in the central part of the state around Asheville and Moody, and of course, Billy Thomas for checking in on the Jimmy Thomas Memorial from down at Phoenix City at East Alabama Motor Speedway. First, let me remind you before we leave, make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Alabama Racer. It's right here on your screen. Just follow us right there. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. That way, when we upload episodes of the show, you'll get email notices, and that will let you know that there's a new show there for you to watch on demand whenever you like. If you can't wait for YouTube, we're right here at fnnnetwork.com every Thursday night at 8 o'clock with the first run of the show, and then it replays several times on the website and through the app throughout the weekend. So again, thanks for joining us as you tow out and head around the state this weekend. Be safe, and remember, if you're not first, you're last.
VP Racing Fuels introduces Madditives, fuel additives developed by the mad scientists. Race fuel technology for your daily driver.
VP Racing Fuels and Additives are available at Green Oil Company of Oxford.